What's up, Cubers? My name's Kenneth. Wow, it's been a while. Actually, it's been 6 years, and I've been reading the comments. And I wanted to start off by saying, no, I'm not dead. Actually, most of the comments have been absolutely amazing. I really appreciate all the kind words that people have shared over the years. And a lot of people have been asking for updates. So I'm really excited to sort of give this update here. And I guess the big news in my life is actually my kids are starting to cube, which is really exciting. And that's getting me to cube as well. And so we actually got to go to a speed cube competition this last weekend. We went to Super Duper San Diego 26. And it was a lot of fun. My nephew went as well, and he's actually faster than me now. And I'm just really proud of them all. And we had a lot of fun. And while I was there, I got to speak with Dan Pastushkov, and it was part of the live stream put on by West Coast Cubing. And they were actually kind enough to let me share that with you guys today. So I hope you guys enjoy this sort of conversation. I hope it's a good update of where I've been, where things are going. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoy.
Welcome back to Super Duper San Diego here in sunny San Diego 2026. This is our lunch segment where I'm Dan Pastushkov, and I'm very honored to take off this lunch segment to interview someone that was very influential to my life in cubing, starting out. Someone very influential to cubing in general, has been around for a long time. We haven't seen him since Worlds 2013. It's been 10 whole years. It is my honor to introduce everyone here to Kenneth Brendan, RedKB. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Dan. I'm excited to be here. This has been a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. So I guess that's the burning question on everyone's mind who's familiar with your work. What brings you back today of all days?
Oh my gosh, it's been fun. So obviously I've taken a big break from cubing and YouTube in particular. But I think my last YouTube video was 2019, maybe December. It's almost 2020. So since COVID, I haven't made a YouTube video. And really I've been focusing on family. So, and the families, they're growing and they're starting to get into cubing, which is like super exciting. So I'm really happy about that. I taught my nephew, and my kids wouldn't want to learn from me, right? But as soon as my nephew learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube, then now they want to learn how to solve Rubik's Cubes. And so, I'm really excited to come here. This is my kid's first competition and my nephew's second competition. And, we had a lot of fun. So I'm almost entering a new phase of, I'm like the parent, which I am the parent, right? So, but I'm enjoying the like parent experience in cubing today.
Mm-hmm. How is that compared to back then when you were more focused on competing?
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of like, okay, making sure, did you bring your cube? Like my son lost his Mega Minx at the restaurant last night, and he's, competing in Mega Minx today. So we had to rush back to the restaurant to go get it. So it's definitely more like, that's the things I'm worried about. I'm not necessarily worried about my times as much. I still wanted to do well, and I was pretty happy I only competed in 3x3 today or yesterday. But that was fun. So
is this something that you spent a lot of time practicing for?
At first I needed a speed cube because all my cubes are old and crusty. Like they don't turn very good. So I got a nice speed cube and I was like, holy cow, this thing turns so nice. And so I definitely practiced quite a bit, really since Christmas. So just for, a few weeks, really a couple weeks. So, but yeah, practice a little bit for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if anyone was watching yourselves, you might have realized that you do something kind of unconventional to what we see nowadays. You use a very different method. You want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I originally solved a Rubik's Cube, this is pre-YouTube, right? So this is ancient, 2001. I went online and I found like a how to solve a Rubik's Cube by, I think the guy's name was Matt Monroe or something like that. And he had a nice website, and it was like, you didn't have to learn notation. And it was a corners first solution. And so then when I started getting faster and faster, I really wanted to speed cube, and there was hardly anything about speed cubing online at the time. There was like a Yahoo speed cube group or something like that, a Yahoo group, right? So I joined that, and there wasn't like a consensus of like what's the best solution. There wasn't a lot. People were doing Jessica Friedrich's method, which is really CFOP, right? And other people were like, you don't need that. You can do a corners first solution. So anyway, my method is based on a corners first solution, really popularized by a guy named Mark Waterman, this is like a solution from the 80s. So I learned that it's basically you do the corners, 3 edges on one side, then you do a CLL to do the corners on the other side, and then using a keyhole, you do the edges on the other side. And then you basically end up with just the middle layer edges. You have to orient them and permute them, and then you're done. So anyway, it's not super efficient, but it's what I spent, thousands of hours on in my 20s to learn. And now it's like, so I might as well keep going that way, I guess. But my nephew's taught him CFOP, and he's immediately faster than I am. So I've all of a sudden like, hey, maybe I should really spend some time on CFOP. So I've been practicing CFOP as well.
Whoa.
And I'm surprised that like, wow, I'm almost as fast on CFOP as I am my old method. And it's just not even a full 4 look last layer, and I'm almost as fast. So I'm like, dang. So
You mentioned you were learning all this like pre-YouTube and like these Yahoo forums. What year was this roughly when you kind of started learning?
So I learned in 2001, and then I was in college, 2001 to 2003, just like basically memorizing the CLL algorithms and just practicing. And it's crazy because like for the amount of time I spent, I should be faster. I feel like. So I went to the World Championships in 2003. It was the first WCA competition, and I was really my goal at the time. The world record was 22.9 seconds, right, by Mina Tai. He set that in 1982. And so the whole time I was like, this is the world record. I want to beat it. I want to beat it. I can beat it. And there was times where I was beating it, right? And so I went to the World Championships hoping to like beat that time, and I didn't. But I got, I think, 25, 26 seconds, something like that. Dan Knights won the competition with an average of 20 seconds. So that tells you like how far things have come. I don't think 20 seconds got you into the second round today. And maybe it might, I don't know if it did or not.
Right.
I don't think it did. So it's pretty incredible to see how far things have come.
Right. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. The first ever WCA competition, right? And
Yeah.
it was a world championship. A lot of stuff was different, right? And a lot of people were doing all sorts of different things. Like you mentioned, you were using corners first, and there was some, the Friedrich method, as it was called. But then, was anyone else, like, were there really any other top solvers that were using kind of similar methods to you, or just anything unique like that?
I don't know if anyone was doing, honestly, I've never met someone who solves kind of like how I did. Actually, Mina Tai, I've heard used a similar method to the Mark Waterman method. So I think he did a corners first method, but he wasn't at the 2003 World Championships. But yeah, there was, I remember Lars Petrus was there. He was doing the Petrus method, which was really cool. And I think most people were doing like a CFOP variation. But yeah, it was definitely different. In fact, like the organization of competitions have improved so much. Like it's incredibly amazing to see how efficient this competition's being run. But I remember back then, the idea I think was everyone was going to first round, everyone was going to do an average of 10. Like that was the plan. And after everyone went through one solve, they like circled up and like, we can't do this. We're going to do a best of 3. So it was literally a best of 3 to get to the second round. And then they did best of 3 again to get to the final round. I think the final was an average of 5. And I think that's because we did average of 5 there. That kind of started average of, like, we never, in the Yahoo groups of the day, no one ever did an average of 5. There's always an average of 10, really 12, throw out your worst and your best, and then you average the middle 10. Like that was what we were doing in the Yahoo group. So yeah, I think the average of 5 came out of the, like, how unprepared everyone was for that competition.
So it was just really on the fly. They figured out the average of 5 format, and it was so good they stuck.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. You'd have to ask Ron or someone who was organizing back then. So
I was looking at your results too. The next comp was like some Caltech comp where they also did like a best of 3 as well.
Yeah, they might have. I don't even remember that well. Tyson Mao, thankfully he was nearby, and he started to help co-found the WCA, but he was at Caltech. I think he was attending Caltech at the time as well. But I went to maybe 1 or 2 competitions there, and it was really cool to see Mackie. It was the world record holder at the time. He may even set the world record at one of those. I don't really remember, but it was cool. And that Lars Petrus came to one of those as well, which was cool to see him again. And yeah, they were fun. So, and then I basically stopped going to comps after that. That was like 2004, maybe. I don't remember. But it wasn't until the World Championships in 2013, and I made a YouTube video on that. But I went there, and that was a lot of fun. And the jump between 2004 and 2013, incredible, like incredible, right? Like I think Felix Zendegs was solving around 5 seconds at the time. And seeing people go from like a 15-second like world record to a 5-second, is pretty cool in that time frame. And then since then from there to now is also like really cool to see the improvement, and it's fun to see Max here today, and yeah, having a lot of fun.
I want to kind of stay on the old World Championships before we kind of pivot towards the newer stuff. The events list was very, very different back then, right?
Yeah.
It seemed a lot less kind of set in stone. And you held a world record, didn't you, at one point?
Well, I don't think I ever had a world record in anything, but I did do a lot of Magic. I like playing Rubik's Magic, and that was one where I really enjoyed.
And you had the national record in that?
Yeah, maybe it was the national record, or maybe it was the North American record. I'm not sure if it was like U.S. or if it was North American. But yeah, it was. And the funny thing is, I was competing with my twin brother, and I think he might have had it for Master Magic. I don't really remember. This is like, we're talking like 2 decades ago.
Right. But there was also the Siamese cube, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, Siamese cube. They basically said, bring any puzzle and get an official time.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, I'll bring my Siamese cube. And a Siamese cube actually, though, at least the ones that are connected only with like one corner like grouping, that one solves very well with a corners first solution. And so I was like, hey, I could be one of the. I'm the only one doing corners first here. I could be very good at this, you know. So I solved it there. I don't know if they gave me a world. Did they give me a world record for that? I don't know.
You mentioned it in the video.
I might.
I haven't looked into it.
I don't think it's on the WCA website, but it maybe speedcubing.com. It might be on there. But yeah, I don't know if I'm got an official world record or not.
That's cool. That sounds like it was a fun experience. Yeah. So then after that, right, couple comps, I imagine fairly similarly formatted. And then Worlds 2013, which, you know, was kind of when I started cubing. Right? So that's kind of like as far as I see it, the formation of the really kind of developed WCA, the start of not so much hyper competition, but the just, you know, very well organized, kind of very well put together, you know, major events. And that was the big one that everyone talks about from back then is Worlds 2013. How was your experience there compared to the one at like Worlds 2003, 10 years ago? Well,
I would say like that one, I was so focused on YouTube, right? Because by that time, like RedKB is like a very big popular channel. And so, you know, I was very focused on the YouTube aspect of it, but I wanted to document it because like it was so cool to see how far things have come, multi-blind, like every single like, you know, event, and seeing like really incredible performance by everyone who was there that competition. Yeah, it was like completely different from that 2003 experience. And it was really cool to see how far things had come.
So then from something like that to then, you know, 13 years later coming into this competition, is there like a noticeable difference that you're seeing in the same way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the times are incredible. Like, you know, it's cool to see how fast everyone is now. Like, you know, people at this competition would be like being on the podium in that one. So it's really cool to see just the times. And then I think the, you know, having my kids come here and seeing just how like you're told, if you're going to compete, you're also going to judge, you know, and it also helps keep the competition moving, which is very nice as well. It's not taking forever. So, and my kids have really enjoyed, you know, judging too. It's a good way to keep them busy, I think. So I like it. Yeah.
Is it something you think you'll kind of make a return to, start coming to more of these events?
Definitely. I mean, I think so. You know, especially as my kids have had a great experience here. My nephew set a PR single and average, and then my kids, this is their first competition, and they set records. Their own PB. Like my son got a PB and a PR for his 2x2 solve. He got a lucky on it. He got like a 3-second solve. For him, that's great. You know, so I was really, really proud of him. And yeah, so, you know, I think as long as the kids are enjoying it, we'll be coming back for sure.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times the YouTube channel, and I think that's a big one that a lot of people might not know about. So back in the day, you built a fairly large following. In fact, 300-something thousand subscribers?
At one point, it was over 400,
wow.
And it's gone in the wrong direction. So I think I'm like 390. At the time, though, it was the biggest U.S.-based cubing channel. And it was a lot of fun. You know, I was making videos every other weekend, sometimes it'd be every single week. And I did it for over a decade. So like 10 years of me making YouTube videos on puzzles, and really, really had a lot of fun with it.
Super cool. Yeah. Very influential, I think, to a lot of people, to a lot of collectors. Yeah. You know, including myself. It's something I always look forward to seeing what kind of crazy puzzle you were going to pull out. And it was always something very insane. So I want to talk about the different puzzles, but I also want to talk about the fact that you, a lot of the time, would develop your own methods to solving them. These kind of outlandish puzzles that didn't really make sense. You know, even just watching the video, you don't really understand how the pieces move around. And you're figuring out ways to consistently solve these.
That ended up being what I really enjoyed. I love cubing, but I've never been a speed cuber. Like I maybe in the early 2000s, you know, I was speed cubing, but it was very clear I wasn't going to be a competitive speed cuber. But I really enjoyed random, interesting, unique like mechanisms and puzzles, and especially loved getting a new puzzle that like no one really knew how to solve yet, and like try to figure it out before anyone else could. And that was always highly motivating to me. So I very much enjoyed getting random, like really unique puzzles and trying to solve them.
What was your kind of methodology towards, you know, finding those kind of solutions? Because, you know, I played around with like some non-WCA stuff, and there's some that like, I'll just say, no, thank you, put on the shelf. Or honestly, a lot of the time I would come back to your videos. There's, you know, videos similar to yours and figure out how to solve it. How did you kind of work through those puzzles and consistently be able to, you know, get solutions for these complex things?
I think it takes practice and persistence. I guess I don't even know how to answer the question. Like, to be honest, like I think some of it was like, oh, I'm going to see what I already know and how I can apply it, you know, and I think cuboids is a good starting point. Like once you can do a 3x3, well, can you do a 2x2x3 like that? Like, you know, just because you can solve a 3x3 doesn't mean you could even do a 2x2x3. Like there's a constraint, right? Because you can only do 180-degree layers on some sides. But then if you can just like learn a simple algorithm to maybe switch two corners on a 2x2x3, like that's a simple algorithm. But that algorithm can then be used on all sorts. Like you could use it on a square one, has a similar, you know, issue, and others. And so some of these algorithms can be used on multiple different puzzles. And so you have that as a base, and then plus you start learning about commutators and conjugates and stuff like that. And you can start really trying to think like, what's the problem? I love seeing a puzzle that I've never solved before and thinking about, if I were to create a solution, where would I start? Would I start with orienting these pieces and then permuting them? Or maybe, hey, look, I just permuted these and it didn't hurt anything else. Well, I need to write that down to remember it, you know? So stuff like that, you know, every puzzle is different, I would say. And I tried, you may have seen it, but I tried to start documenting some of these with what I called the Nemesis series, right? So like these puzzles where like they've been sitting on my shelf for a long time and I've never solved it. You know what? Gosh darn it, I'm going to solve it. So I would go get it and I'd be around with it. And I try to document the sort of like, how am I going about trying to solve this puzzle? And each one I did was slightly different. But yeah.
So if someone's just kind of getting into cubing or moderately into cubing, you know, they're a speed cuber, but they've kind of thought about picking up something non-WCA, what's like, you had to pick 3 puzzles or 3 styles of puzzles, kind of going like a progression from easy, medium to hard to try and figure out on your own. What would you kind of suggest to someone?
Yeah, well, I love the 2x2x3 as like a simple cuboid. I think is a lot of fun. So that's probably an easy, maybe throw in a gear cube too, like just the plain old gear cube. Like, I don't know why, it's not that hard of a puzzle, but the way it moves, it's very satisfying. I like that puzzle. I really like gear puzzles. So I would start with maybe one of those. And then medium, I don't know. Like even mods are kind of interesting. Like a ghost cube is like surprisingly difficult. Like,
yeah,
you're like, this is just a 3x3. Why can't my mind wrap my head around that? So maybe that for a medium. And then like a hard, like there's still the Maltese gear cube.
Ooh.
I still can't solve that puzzle. And I've tried this so many times. I'm very close. Like there's probably like 6 different problems you have to solve to like, and I can do 5 of the 6. You know, it's like I just need to orient the last little like I don't know what you would call those, the gears. I need to orient the gears so that it's flat on every side, and then I could solve it, but I can't solve that one. So that might be the only puzzle in my collection, my active collection, that I've never solved. There have been other puzzles people have let me borrow and then I couldn't solve and I gave it back to them. But that one sits on my desk, just unsolved, and it drives me insane.
Maybe someday we'll get a Nemesis series
I've
video.
always said if I ever solve that, there will be a follow-up Nemesis video on that one, because that is my ultimate Nemesis puzzle.
I'm very much looking forward to that. You mentioned you it's the hardest of your collection. That I guess implies that there's some fairly difficult puzzles in there, and just a kind of huge collection to begin with. I think one of the most impressive collections. Do you have like a set of just favorite puzzles? Doesn't have to be hardest, doesn't have to be like anything in particular, just your personal favorites.
I mean, I think my personal favorite is probably the 3x3x5. Like it turns, like, it's not that much harder than a 3x3. You can solve a 3x3, and then you can solve the outer edges like maybe a 3x3x2 or something. But it's not that hard to solve. But when it scrambles and then it like shape shifts, looks super cool. And then to fix the shape shift, it's a very satisfying to like turn, because it's got a 3x3 core. And so, like, everyone's played with the 3x3, so that one's probably my all-time favorite. And then I'm trying to think of other puzzles that I really like. I don't know. It's crazy how like the 3x3x3, just like Rubik's Cube, like you never get away from that. Like that's also the one that I probably still play with the most, even though I have this huge collection. When I'm sitting in a meeting and sometimes, like trying to like pay attention, like maybe I'm playing with the Rubik's Cube under the desk, so still playing with the 3x3.
Cool. Is it something that you like maintain the collection? Is it something you add on to, or does it kind of just sit pretty?
Well, I gotta say, this year, because my kids are now getting into cubing and Speedcubing, everyone wants their own 3x3, their own Pure Minx, their own Mega Minx, and own square ones and stuff. So all of a sudden our family's overall cube collection has exploded, because like everyone wants them. My daughter, my son, even my youngest son, he can't solve a Rubik's Cube yet. He can do one side, but even he wants his own 2x2 and his own 3x3. So it's kind of cool to see. But overall, my collection, it's kind of collecting dust, right? So it's I haven't really added all that much over the years. I think I've got. Yeah, I can't even say. Like, I don't think I've really bought any non-WCA puzzle in probably 4 years or so.
Cool. Well, as we kind of start to draw to a close, I want to kind of talk about the future of RedKB. You've made an appearance here. You're talking about competing more. Is this something that we're going to see more regularly? Are we going to see more RedKB videos in the future?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, if it were up to my kids and my nephew, they want me to make YouTube videos. They really love watching YouTube, right? They love watching Ting Man and Cubehead and Soup Timmy and all these great creators. And it's really fun to watch. Like, I'm watching them too, because the kids are watching them. I'm like, man, these guys are great at doing YouTube. And so, I'd love to get back into it. But it's a huge commitment, so it's hard to say. But I am also actually working, just for fun. I've been working on a cubing app too, which has been fun. It's called Cube Vault, and so I'm actually looking for beta testers. So anyone watching, if you want to go to cubevault.redkb.com, there's a sign up for beta testing. But that's another thing that's been a lot of fun. And if I continue working on that, who knows, maybe I'll make a video on that as well.
You want to kind of give an explanation of what that is?
Yeah, it's basically, so I was on my phone on Android, and I was looking at the Play Store looking for like a cubing app, and there's not that. The cubing apps that are there just to like play with a virtual cube aren't very great. And so I was like, hey, I wonder if I could use AI to help vibe code one. And I was like, wow, I got really far really fast. So anyway, the app, it has basically all WCA puzzles except for square one. But I'll probably be adding square one eventually. Then it's got cuboids, it's got different mods, shape mods. And so it's like a vault of all these virtual cubes that you can play with. And it works well, looks nice. And so hopefully it'll be coming out on Android and iOS very soon.
Cool. Yeah, that's something I definitely want to take a look at. I'll find myself just kind of sitting somewhere with no cubes. I just want to maybe even just think of something in my head, see what it does on a cube, especially non-WCA stuff. I think that'll be interesting.
I've got right now it's got a Fisher cube and a Mala cube, the one with the 9 colors on every side.
Oh yeah.
A Void cube, and we'll be adding more. I actually have one. It's called the Grinch cube. It's the Grinch's face, but you can scramble them up. It's like a 2x2 head, right? So, but yeah, looking forward to continue to add more once I get them live.
Cool. And what's the link for that one more time?
Yeah, it's cubevault.redkb.com.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, besides that, we'll see if I end up making more YouTube videos. Like I'd like to. It's a huge commitment. And also it's like, it's almost intimidating now after so many years. YouTube's come a long way, right? There's like different expectations on level of production, but who knows? Maybe I'll just throw something up there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm far from being the only one who would love to see the return of RedKB. I mean, it's the kind of videos that I'll be doing something and then just put them on in the background. It's just really relaxing, you know?
Yeah.
I think it holds up so well to like today's content.
Yeah, I
I'm a
appreciate
huge fan.
Appreciate that. You know, it's fun to know that, like, hey, you know, I spent a decade on that channel or more than a decade, and I'm glad it's had a good impact.
Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up? Anything you're working on? Anything I want to plug?
Really, I mean, just thanks for everyone here. Like, this has been a super duper competition, and you know, I've really enjoyed it, and the kids have had a lot of fun, and yeah, looking forward to maybe checking out some more competitions. So we'll see.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Kenneth. It was truly an honor and a pleasure to sit here and speak with you. I hope you understand the power and influence you've had over my generation, at least of cubers that started to come up, on how much you've inspired us to keep doing what we do. And here's hoping that the next generation of cubers can know who you are, find your backlog of content, and maybe see new content from you in the future.
Hopefully. Well, thank you very much, Dan.
Cool. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.
If you guys made it to the end, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you guys have a great day.